We didn't really ask you guys. Do you want to do a podcast?
Hey, guys, you guys want to do a podcast?
I mean, it's something that's come up a couple times, but we walk in, it's like, wait, I thought this was just a photo shoot.
It's a photo shoot without cameras.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0,
Welcome to Donuts and Bikes, the mountain biking coaching podcast. Your hosts are Kristian and Paul, and we're here to discuss the skills, techniques, and tactics we've used to progress our riders and coaches over the past 20 years to become more skillful and confident, and ultimately have more fun on bikes. So click into a harder gear and get ready to dig deep into some of these skills.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Donuts and Bikes. We are here in Shoal Creek, which is on the edge of Dupont State Recreation Forest. Paul and I are back in North Carolina in person here.
Woohoo!
Welcome back, Paul. It's good to see you.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's my home away from home. And I always love getting back here. It's so good to be back. And we're here this week doing some training with PMBIA and getting the crew ready for the season. And whilst we got some of the crew down here, and we thought it'd be a good time to grab a few of them and bring them into one of our podcasts tonight. And that way we can have some good times. What are we talking about tonight? We have a little plan. You should tell the plan, because I had an idea which sucked, and then you came up with a better idea. So I'm not even going to tell you my idea. But it was a quick idea. To be fair, I didn't actually think about the idea.
It was a little off the cuff.
Yeah, it was off the cuff, and then now I regret it, and I feel a bit stupid. But so you go with the idea, and tell us what we're up to tonight.
So, our last episode, we discussed confidence and fear, had a really good time.
We did.
Talking about that, we've had a lot of engaging conversation on the back end with listeners about it, and so had an opportunity here with some of our trainers to kind of put the question to them about how they perceive confidence and fear as mountain bike coaches.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so we have 3 guests with us today.
Awesome. So why don't we start with just a little intro so the listeners know who you are, where you're from, what's your favorite color, and anything else that you think's amusing or interesting. Rochambeau, who's going first? Shanna, I heard you make a noise first, so you go first.
I'm Shanna Powell. I live here in Brevard, North Carolina, and my favorite color is purple. And turquoise and green. I don't know.
That's a good plug for your i9 wheels,
Yeah.
which I'm very jealous of.
Yeah, they're sweet.
And your company.
And my company. Oh, yeah.
Tell us about you, because you're awesome. You're like one of my favorites. So tell us about you.
Well, I've been a mountain bike instructor since Kristian and Harlan certified me in 2015. I own a small bicycle component business that I've had since 2008 called Endless Bike Company, and I'm a level 3 mountain bike instructor and a level 1 instructor trainer, and I have my own business called Endless Bike Girl Mountain Bike Skills here in Brevard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're stoked to have you. It's can't wait to hear your thoughts and perspectives on things.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome.
In so many ways.
H-Dog, you're up.
My name is Harlan Price, and I have a mountain bike instruction company called Take Aim Cycling, and I've been doing that for about 12 years. Came across PMBIA part of the way into that and just fell in love. And
We fell in love with you.
I'm glad it was mutual. It was less work on my part.
I'm glad. It would have been awkward otherwise.
Yeah. Let me in. Knock, knock. And so Yeah, I'm a level 3 instructor and I guess a level 2 course conductor
Mm-hmm.
and instructor trainer. And I think maybe I'm a trainer's trainer.
Let's
The
go with
layers
that.
get
Yeah,
the layers get thick, right?
the layers are thick.
Racing background, because you got a pretty cool pedigree there. You both do. Tell us quickly about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I was a very not so serious, but very serious racer, and I raced endurance racing before enduro confused things. And I raced 100-milers, things like that, single speed. I met Shanna through that because I was using some of her components, and we tended to fall into the same line of thinking in places. So
Because you
became
didn't.
friends.
Neither of you had gears. Is probably.
And we
I
had cool
had
pants.
gears. I had gears.
Oh, you
But
had
also,
gears.
I sometimes did not have gears.
Yeah, but you used to race single speed, didn't you, Shannon?
I love single speed
Yeah.
races.
And you make the best sprockets and chain rings for it.
Yes.
We'll put the
I
we'll
do.
put the plug in the show notes.
So Shanna and I are old friends.
Yeah.
Even though it took me the longest time to figure out if it was Shanna.
No.
So I would be
Banana.
very
Tell her
embarrassed
remember
to know her for multiple years and still be working through my head. Each time I saw her, I can't remember.
At least you didn't go for Sahana.
So Hannah.
Sahana.
I never told you that, but it was a constant issue for me.
All right, beautiful, awesome. and Meredith, stoked for you to be here.
Meredith McFarland from Vermont, rookie trainer, course conductor, level 2, PMBIA. My background is heavily snowboard, Aussie level 3, which is American Association of Snowboard Instructors. Back home, currently I am the town of Bristol's recreations director and in the lead coach for our 5-town Vermont youth cycling program. So we've got
Nice.
about 40 kids in that program.
Awesome. So are we the only 2 snowboarders in the room?
I've been snowboarding a couple
Alright,
of times.
You guys,
mostly
but
fall
like
down
wake,
the
you're
mountain.
like hardcore snowboarders.
Yeah.
I think
I
we
live
are.
in
Drink
North
the Kool-Aid.
Carolina.
I live in Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we
I don't
are.
think it's
Yeah.
snow, it's like
Okay,
ice boarding.
Yeah.
Ice boarding. That's like ice boarding's like cross country snowboarding. Equally ridiculous. We could do that. We should do a podcast on that cross country snowboarding.
Ridiculous.
Have you seen the movie on that?
Were they? It makes me tired watching.
I see kids when they're like kids are too lazy to unstrap their back foot and like skate to the chairlift and they try and waddle. That is far too tiring. Just unstrap your back foot. Anyway, let's not get into snowboarding. Yeah, I think that's everyone. They know me and they know you, so let's get into confidence and fear.
Absolutely. So maybe let's start with the question for everybody. Just kind of feel free to jump in here. Personal definition of confidence. Like, how might you define confidence for yourself? Let's keep this like in the mountain bike context to start with.
Elusive.
Elusive. What do you mean? What do you mean by
I'm
that?
a lifelong struggler with confidence. Like, I am not a very confident human, but the bike helps me be more confident, and having learned skills has helped me be more confident. But it's taken a lot to feel confident as a human and as a mountain biker over the years.
When you feel confident, can you put some labels or words to it? Like, what can you describe that? When you do feel confident, what does it feel like?
Well, there's less like internal dialogue about things when I'm confident. It's like
Like a bit of peace.
yeah, like maybe
Nice.
kind of hit that flow state.
Yeah,
Like, stop thinking about everything so much.
yeah. There's sort of that an analytical mind kind of quietens down. or goes away even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. Turn the brain off.
And I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about confidence. I'm not sure I know what that is.
You too.
But, you know, I'm like, I have, through being in the bike industry and having friends, I'm like, folks like Harlan who, and y'all who, you've helped me see what I can be, and that's helped me be more confident.
Mm-hmm.
Like having more confidence in me than maybe I've had in myself has helped me be more confident.
Yeah.
Like seeing, you know, like building me up has helped me be more confident.
It's like, in a way, like confidence is sort of seeing your potential.
Yeah.
Not necessarily how I feel now, but how could I feel, or not how am I now, but how could I be? Okay, that's a cool.
Like it's a temporary state. Like recognizing that where you're at now is a temporary state helps build confidence. But if you think you're stuck in this space, then confidence can be... That's a place where confidence is often low if you feel stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a cool thing with fear or anxiety is in the moment you kind of forget that it's temporary. It can and will go away. Mm-hmm. It's just what can we do to make it go away more easily or make it go away quicker. I like that. Mm-hmm. Confidence, elusivity. Elusivity? Mm-hmm. Is that a word? Let's say that's a word.
Sure.
Yeah.
It sounds fancy.
State of being elusive.
State of being elusive. See, that's why we got Kristian in the room. Harlan, what's confidence for you?
Confidence for me is knowing that I'm in charge of my current situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that that I have choices.
Yeah. So you've got a bit of control,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time you have options.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
do you have control over those options?
Not always.
They're just there.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe. Do I have control over the options? Well, I think maybe like Shanna, in some ways, like let's go back. Confidence in my life there's areas where confidence is high and areas where confidence is low.
Yeah.
So socially, growing up, my confidence was low.
Yeah.
But I found confidence in my activities that I was like in control over. So if I was skateboarding with friends that didn't feel judgy, then it was high. If I was skateboarding with friends that were with people I didn't know and they seemed really good, my confidence would be lower.
Yeah, because you perceived that you were being judged.
Or I was being judged, or I was judging myself in their presence.
Yeah. Judging yourself.
My leg's got a cramp.
You cramping over there?
You've been here
for 10 minutes, Shanna.
This is a serious podcast right now.
I'm sorry.
It's donuts.
I think it's the salmon. Because I had a little cramp just now, and I was like, I never get cramps. So I think it's the salmon.
Sorry,
for the listeners, we all just had salmon. Harlan cooked it, so we'll blame him.
I cooked it?
So anyway, what were you saying?
I didn't wash my hands before I did the salad.
Something about confidence.
I would say, I think confidence for me is related directly to the external pressures, which usually comes from what I think other people would expect. Because I wouldn't send it off as something necessarily.
How do you feel, same question, how do you feel? What are the words you describe when you do feel confident?
I feel like self-assured.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I got an answer.
Like, you can do this.
I can do this or I cannot do this.
Right.
Yeah, my confidence can be like, Or
So it's the control for you.
it's the control.
It's the control. I'm in control.
Right. Yeah. And so sometimes that just means like I've learned to manage my confidence, to manage my lack of confidence by, if I'm feeling a lack of confidence, I make the decision. I just make a decision.
Right.
Usually to, say no.
Right.
And then like,
and then the pressure's removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that in the last episode, and that like, if you're trying something that's challenging you and you're feeling that stress or anxiety, it's you do have power, you do have control just to say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to let that stress or that anxiety kind of control you in a way.
Yeah.
Can you relate to that, Shannon? Like the idea of like when you're confident, you feel more control. Maybe not total control, but you feel more control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's keep this going. What about you, Meredith? What's control for you? What does that feel like or look like? Or
Well, when it comes to mountain biking, because I live in a 2-season place in Vermont, so winter's all about snowboarding, and then as soon as the snow is gone, it's mountain biking. And I feel less confident in my riding right now in the April, May.
Yeah.
And then if you ask me this question in July or August, I'd be like,
Yeah.
I've got
You're speaking my language. You just explained like the last 20 years for me. Like, because we're the same, right? We're like the winter industry. We're heavy on the snowboards, and then you come into spring and like you just
pedaling. You're actually working.
You're playing catch up, really. Yeah. And I mean, for me, the last few years, I've had much less snowboard work, so it's interesting now. I'm coming into the spring for the first time in years with like actually doing some biking, actually doing some training. And even like today, I was like, even though I've got a bit of a bug at the moment, I was like, I can actually climb up the hill today and not feel like I want to die, which is the first time for ages. And it's crazy how for me, like I don't know if you feel like this, but like early season when physically, you're not in shape, how that just totally impacts your head. Like
I won't do things that I know I can do.
Yeah.
I just won't take the chance. But come August or even July, it's just I own it.
Yeah, totally. So for you, when you are confident, I own it. Is that like a sense of control or a sense of?
Yeah, it's a sense of control, and I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like.
It's kind of what you said, Shannon. Like.
Yeah, I would take these two.
Yeah.
And blend them.
Yeah.
Hey, follow-up question here about control. It's kind of got a little theme of control going on. Let's stay first. There's a second part to this, so hang on. First part, control in the sense of a rider. Personally, being a rider gives a sense of confidence, right? What is that in like, especially in the early season, Meredith? What is that like for you to regain that control? Like, is there a process to that?
Yeah, so I have to look at it in like bite-sized pieces and build up my confidence. So, for example, if we were to do, I don't know, like a manual, I'm going to have to really concentrate on making it happen because I'm kind of physically out of fit, I just came off the snowboard, so I've got to process the thought of going through the whole system of pulling that manual off.
It's like a re-remembering of all the pieces to that.
Yeah. A mental and a physical.
Right. It's something that you, like in terms of control, you have stewardship over.
Yeah.
Like, you can recall all those movements and such.
Through that process, is there a point where you're like, why am I thinking about this? I can do this in my sleep. When you're like relearning things each season and then suddenly you're like, what am I doing? Like, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
This is my place. I've been here 1,000 times before. Why am I even second guessing this?
I told
Do you
myself
get that?
all day today.
Yeah, yeah,
I was talking to myself. If anybody was riding close to me, I'd be like, "What is going on?
yeah, yeah.
Get it together.
It's
you know
cold
what to do."
and rainy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stupid weather.
But yeah, I do a lot of talking to myself pre-season.
Yeah.
Harlan, what thoughts on that one?
I mean, we've talked a lot so far about sort of like our confidence in our physical activities, but I can relate it to this week doing course conductor training, where you show up and I'm in a situation where like, ooh, do I know what I'm doing? Do I know as much as people think I might know? And so then my confidence goes down there, and it's like, and that becomes a little bit spirally. I mean, I was a little tired at the beginning of the week, and I didn't feel on point. And then I was also like, oh God, now I'm going to be like in front of my mentors and people I respect, and they're going to ask me to show things that should be just like popping off the top of my brain. And I went through a little confidence spiral this week.
This is cool because you're you're a bit of a legend. You know, you've got this crazy kind of pro riding background, high level coach, your own coaching company, you know, and you're going through the same kind of self-doubt that I reckon probably every listener has gone through at some point before. So that's where I think, like, partly for me what helps with confidence is when I know everybody else is struggling with confidence, it almost makes it easier for me to sort of struggle with confidence in a way. Yeah. Does that make sense?
For sure.
Yeah.
But can I add something, or Harlan, do you have something else to add to that before?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so let me steer this where I was going with part 2 with this. Like, there's part of confidence with being a rider is the physical riding, the riding part, which we have systems to overcome that. You know, as riders, we can self-coach ourselves back into fitness or technique manuals, that. But you're like straight on where I wanted to go with this is like confidence as a coach. And let's pair that up with this idea of control. Because what's happening with control when we coach people is we're dealing with people. And we don't have control over what other people do, what they think, how they perform. I guess that's what they do. But their level of engagement, like there's so much as a coach beyond our control. And then, as you said, we layer as humans, we layer on top of that, what do the people that I'm coaching think of me and my behavior? And that starts to, like you said, the spiral.
Yeah.
The spiral effect. I think, you know, we can all of us here and listeners probably understand what we're talking about. Like, what are some strategies that we might use to harness that spiral and like step into confidence within these kind of like more...
Kind of pause the spiral and come back out of it.
Pause it, come back out of it. I mean, I've been there numerous times, but curious for you all to maybe talk about that.
I pep talk myself.
Pep talk?
Yeah. I mean, like, I put my helmet on, and then I'm like, all right, okay, you've got this. You know what you're doing. Just get your shit together.
Shut up and do it.
Well, talk about that. You know what you're doing. Dig into that one for a second.
Well, so with the lack of confidence that I'm having, I question myself on presentation, and I almost trip myself up. So I take a second and I just kind of like get inside my helmet and my jacket, and I'm like, okay, so maybe you just didn't understand that question that was being asked, or maybe you didn't present that as well as you could have. So there's all these questions that I'm asking myself and giving myself a self-awareness test.
Is this in a is this in our course conductor training environment, or is this sometimes happens when you're working with clients?
When I'm working with clients, I own it. It just
Right.
it sounds good. If somebody was videotaping it, they would be like, "Oh, that's a great lesson structure right there." But at this time, right now,
How would you feel if you were working with your clients and Kristian rocked up behind you? just started like stood there with his arms crossed and said, "Don't worry, I'm not listening."
yeah. Okay. Pressure's on.
But you're working with your
Pressure's on.
client. Like, how would you feel?
Honestly, if I'm working with my client, I've already built that confidence already in there. I would want to have you guys proud of me.
Mm-hmm. So Kristian being there would add like an extra layer of
I'd be like,
pressure.
I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah.
I gotta do it right.
I think two things two consistencies I've seen tonight or heard tonight already is we feel less confident when we feel like we're being judged, and we feel less confident when we feel like we have less control. And I think that's what happens when whatever environment you're in, you feel like there's a mentor or there's someone whose opinion you value and you perceive them to be judging you. All of a sudden, you doubt yourself. But sometimes what helps me is like, because I've been in that position a lot myself in the past, where you're teaching or you're training instructors and then your mentor comes over and you're just like, piss off. Like, because you start talking more than you normally would and doing things you wouldn't normally would because you start overanalyzing. Anytime there's pressure, people sort of overanalyze. So I guess one thing I've tried to do is, in a way, in my mind, I'll just tell them to go away. Like, I don't need you here. You're like, this is my space. And you're coming into my space, and you're a guest in my space. And you don't get to judge me when you're a guest. So that's something that, I don't know if I reframe it slightly different in my head or I reword it, but I'm like, this is my space, and you're a guest here. What often happens is the reverse. Your mentor or your trainer is watching you, and your perception, consciously or subconsciously, is now I'm in their space, and I need to do good, because if I don't, it will reflect on them. So I try and sort of swap it around and think that this is my space, you're a guest, and you don't have an opinion here.
It's like throwing anxiety in the back seat. You don't get to drive.
Yeah.
I'm driving.
Yeah. This is my car.
It's my car.
I like it.
It's a boundary setting.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you just said it in much fewer words. Well done. That's good.
Well, I mean, like, normally that's your job. But, I mean, it's a tactic. It's a tactic for dealing with any environment where there's things that are potentially toxic, causing you problems. Setting good boundaries for yourself is a tactic, which I'll leave it there. So
Yeah.
One thing that this week and every course like this does for me is it like I get all this anxiety, like, oh, I have to do it right, I have to do the thing, and then you get feedback and it's like, oh, I did okay. And I think it's because I feel like it needs to be done the way I've seen you do it, or the way I've seen you do it, or the way I've seen you do it. We all have our own style. And just because I do it a little bit differently, as long as the content is there,
Yeah.
I can do it how I want and what my style is. And I'm learning just through your feedback and the feedback for other people that, like, well, you're not judging us. That's not what you're here for. You're here to help us along on our growth path and to build us up so that we are the best riders that we can be, and that we can be the best coaches that we can be for ourselves and our own businesses and for the PMBIA. And you're not here, like, judgment. like I think you mentioned today, it's like it's like self-perceived or like we're making it up. We're putting the pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, the judgment is it's perceived. It's not real.
Yeah, and I think that like that's with riding too. And you know, at some point I was like, I just don't care anymore. I'm gonna put cat ears in my helmet and wings on my bag, and I'm gonna step out of the car, and I don't care what everyone else in the parking lot thinks.
Yeah,
and it's helped me like create this space for myself where I'm going to go ride this thing and I don't care what it looks like. I'm going to do the best that I can do, and I'm going to stand in front of my students and I'm going to teach the best that I can teach, because that's what all I can do is the best that I can do. And that helps me find my confidence, and that like I don't have to do it a certain specific way as long as the content's there. Do it my way.
I heard this quote about self-confidence after we did this our episode.
You're going to quote me now.
I'll quote you after this one. But it's serendipitous, and it really what you just said reminded me of it, and it was a definition of self-confidence. And I love this and see what y'all think about it, but this quote was that self-confidence is the ability to deal with whatever happens in your mind. And
Totally.
And what you all are talking about.
There's no way I would have come up with that.
Because what you're talking about is when you step out of your car, you've got two options, you know, with your ears and your wings. If you're choosing to do that, you can choose to be judged and let your mind go to the point of like, what is everybody else thinking about me? And then assigning meaning to it.
Right. Yeah.
Lesser than. I'm lesser than so-and-so because they don't have wings, or they're judging me or whatever, or even better than, right? I'm better than because I have wings. You know, like, but
losers because they don't have wings.
That's true. Or wings on your shoes.
Yeah.
Gold wings. But that idea of like being able to be responsible and account for whatever happens in your mind and own it. And like and that's just what you said. Like, F you. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do it the way I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
I'm me. And
what do y'all think about that idea? Like the confidence is managing whatever happens in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You want to go?
No, go ahead.
I think that's why training is important. Two things, like training gives me more tools to be able to step out and be like, well, I'm trained. I have a methodology. So if I show up and I'm nervous about a lesson that I'm about to give, I can fall back on, I have some training, I have experience. And then I think one of the things I love about the PMBIA thing is that it gives me room to adapt. And now, like, really discussing our human-centric side of like coaching.
Yeah.
It allows me to be human myself and, you know, be empathetic to myself first and then to my clients.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind to yourself.
And I, like Shanna says, I just show up and this is what I am today. Sometimes I'm tired. Hey, clients, I'm tired. Or, you know, so I'm going to give you less. No, I'm tired. You know, yeah, if you're tired, you're tired. And you're like, okay, well, I can make this happen.
You can still do it.
I can still do it.
You're strong and you're resilient, and you can still perform. Yeah.
And it's cold and pouring rain.
It's cold and pouring rain. And an interesting point, we'll put it in our pocket now, but this, and we can bring it up later possibly, but our role as coaches to not bring the judgment and to really create an open space for our clients, because they can often look at us and be like, I have to perform, right? And so it's not, I don't find it that difficult to kind of like set the stage where they're actually like just being themselves. But I don't think that's accidental. I think that takes some practice and some self-awareness. So
that's brilliant. Can I just pick on that?
Sure.
So if you think of what we've kind of highlighted tonight, it's like a lot of the time when we feel a lack of confidence is when we have less control or we perceive we're being judged. So if you think in a lesson, you're learning new things. So straight away, you're not 100% sure of the control. You're not 100% sure of the outcome. And there's someone better than you watching you the whole time. So inherently, a lesson is flawed in terms of developing someone's confidence. In one sense. In another sense, we're skill building. And we're providing positive experiences. We're providing a history of success. So in one sense, lessons will inherently build confidence. But in another sense, they're inherently challenging the confidence. So I think that's a really cool way of articulating it. It's like, as soon as we can create that space where they feel they're not being judged and they feel they're in control and they feel they have a way out, whatever level of student, their confidence is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Maybe not through the roof, but it might go up a couple of notches.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I consider this for myself, my job is to help people give themselves room to be like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Like, this is just part of the stages of learning. This is natural that, yes, I see the videos, everybody's doing that, why can't I? It's like, well, actually, 99% of the people are struggling with the same thing. And giving people permission to be kinder to themselves. And then that opens up their learning process along the way.
So almost in some ways it's like embracing the lack of confidence. You don't feel confident? Great. Okay, good. That means we're progressing. That means we're learning something new. That means we're being challenged. What's good about this lack of confidence right now, and how can we use that as a positive tool rather than sort of this, I'm not feeling confident, and we shut down. And I think that's where we can build resilience. And I had something the other day, and it was along the lines of like, if you that's what it was. You don't improve your confidence by avoiding what makes you unconfident. You know, if you don't get stronger unless you go and lift heavier weights. You know, you can't avoid it. And so, in other words, it's like overcoming fear. It's, if you keep avoiding a thing that scares you, you'll never overcome the fear. And you know, just for a mountain bike example, there was a feature in the bike park that just freaked me out for years, and I just avoided it. And it took me 3 years till I finally stood at the top of it and rode down it. And as soon as I rode down it, I was like, oh my God, that's probably one of the easiest things I've ridden in like the last 2 years. And it took me 3 years to build up to this damn feature. And it was purely that. It was exactly that. It scared me, but then I didn't confront it. So the fear just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's almost, how can we find these sort of micro challenges to where we find a little bit of lack of confidence, a little bit of stress, a little bit of fear. Let's push into that. Let's lean into that, because ultimately that's what we need to do. If we want to build our confidence, we need to embrace the lack of confidence and try and push through it. Because a lot of the time, if the challenge isn't too big, a lot of the time we can push through that anxiety or that stress or that fear, and we'll come out because we're actually going to be okay. I think that's the funny thing in that moment where you feel the stress, the fear, the lack of confidence, you kind of almost forget sometimes, like, what will happen if I just push through it? What will happen if I just teach anyway? What will happen if I just ride anyway? Am I really going to screw it? Am I really going to get hurt? And am I really going to fail? Is that person really going to think I suck? And probably most of the time, all the answers are going to be no. You're going to be fine. But, I don't know, did you relate to that, Shanna? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Especially on in the realm of instruction,
Yeah.
I dealt with my low confidence in instruction by taking more certification courses that challenged me to stand in front of groups of my peers, which is like incredible fear in teaching.
Yeah.
And at one point I took one course and Kristian's like, you didn't need to take this, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know I technically don't need to, but personally I need to, because I am struggling to stand in front of people confidently and feel like I know what I'm talking about. So it was like, I didn't need the credentials, but my confidence needed just more education and more skills to feel more confident.
Yeah.
Or did your confidence need the practice?
Or my confidence needed, probably, but my confidence needed the practice.
What?
That.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I mean, that
What
is
resonate with
because
you?
we were having a conversation today where I was like, all right, I gotta find all these shadows for one. Being a rookie trainer, I gotta accomplish that. But then I was like, I need to go take all these other courses just to be in the classroom, just to soak up all the information. So I was like, all right, so what other classes can I take? What other training can I take?
I
practice.
hired Harlan one year just to help me with my teaching. And I hire him pretty much every year to help me with my riding. But
Let's introduce this another concept here in this same little conversation is expectations. In terms of confidence, the expectation aspect. What do we expect as a coach to be able to do, and how does that then either contribute to or take from confidence?
Where's that beer?
Oh yeah, someone's gonna
I'll try to that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like where we
I'm not sure I do.
Yeah. Can you ask that again?
the expectations we have as a coach to be able to perform at a certain level.
Right.
Like if there's we're wanting to take this certification. Like what are we expecting to do?
I'm expecting to feel more confident, and I want to create a safer atmosphere for my students, and I want to be able to help them feel more confident. So if I go into a lesson and I don't feel confident because I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about, I don't feel like I can help them build confidence, and sometimes I don't feel like, and it's much more rare these days, but I want to know that I can keep them safe or whatever.
I think there's an interesting thing. It's like as you go through the progressions, whether it's in your riding or your coaching or whatever, there's a challenge. You have fear. You move against it. You learn it. You overcome that fear, and you complete the challenge. And so the fear and the anxiety's gone. It's like, okay, I can be confident now because I've finally done that jump, or I finally taught that course, or I finally got that certification. I've done it. What's the next thing we do?
Create another challenge.
We create another challenge. Oh, shit. So the whole thing happens again. So then, from a coaching certification point of view, you might get to your level 4, but when I pass my level 4, it's going to all be over. I'm going to be finished. No, it starts. It almost starts. So I think, a good question to frame or a concept to frame is like, can we overcome fear or a lack of confidence? Do we need to overcome fear, or do we need to get better at managing it? Because in my experience, it never goes away because we always want the next challenge. That's what life is about. And imagine living in a world where there was no challenge. Imagine living in a world where your confidence was never challenged.
You mean like it was only a world of flow trails?
Yeah. It's just flow trails and donuts. And one political party. And bunny rabbits. We would need bunny rabbits.
I think, kind of what I was getting, and that's well said there. And I think what I was getting at is like, at what point do we expect mastery?
I don't think
Or
it exists.
or does mastery
Of confidence.
of confidence, or just of a skill like coaching?
Of anything.
Of coaching. For example, when I was an assistant outward bound instructor, I'd spent a long time apprenticing as a guide and an outdoor leader before I even applied to the outward bound school. And once I got accepted as an assistant instructor at the outward bound school, I'm like, I've made it. And then you realize kind of that the real job of an outward bound instructor is to be able to run an expedition on your own, where you're the one that's in charge. You're in the backcountry for 3 weeks. You're dealing with every single thing that can happen with 12 human beings in the backcountry, on your own. At that point, I'm like, that's absolutely terrifying.
It's giving me anxiety
Yes, it
right
is.
now.
Right? Hearing all of the stories of things that happen on an outward bound course, and evacuations and lightning and, lost students and runaways and, all these things, like, I'm never going to be able to deal with this. I'm never going to and so.
You can do that in your sleep.
What?
No.
But I couldn't, but my point is that like mentally, my mindset was that's an expectation of my performance, and I'm not there yet. It's up here, I'm down here.
Yeah.
And there's too many steps in between, and I don't want to know if they are. So
You can't see the ladder.
I can't see the ladder, and the road of the ladder is
how to get to the top.
You keep doing it, and you've got to see all the things that happen, and all of a sudden, you're the one that's relocating shoulders and calling the evacuations and landing the helicopter and doing all of the things, and it's a step-by-step process. And
But it's like before you know it, you're there. Before you know it, you're kind of doing it.
Right, but it's like the gap between where you are and an expectation, to me, can create the lack of confidence.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. So that it's the gap. It's the gap between the two. And so like part of our job as mountain bike coaches is to really help our people that we're coaching or the people we're training tune in their expectations to, where things are manageable. And if when we're doing that, we're building confidence. Are we going to go ride the biggest rock roll in Whistler on the first trip?
Yeah. Well, no, but yeah. Well, it depends.
It depends. but how do we tune those expectations?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to nail our first coaching client, our individual on the first jumping lesson, and it go absolutely perfectly? Like if that's our expectation, we're going to be let down, and that's going to undermine our confidence. But if we set the expectation of, I'm going to do my best,
Right.
I can train. I know being centered, press, absorb, just speed, etc. I'm going to do my best, and let's see what happens. What do you think, Harlan?
What about overconfidence?
What about it?
Stepping into that situation and we talk about the risk assessment, and one of the sources of risk is our coaching, our instructing. So
right.
If you show up to that situation and you are not flexible or adaptable, and you're like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, now just keep doing that. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right? To a degree, that's overconfidence. And so it's healthy to have a certain amount of self-analysis, which has a little bit of lack of, it's a confidence light maybe.
That's key, right? Like to have some kind of humility and self-awareness and fundamental understanding that you could screw up as a coach. It's good to have a little bit of lack of confidence because it just keeps you in. It's a reality check, right? If you have utter confidence, complete confidence, how often are you going to question your practices?
Right.
I think that's a really good point, Harlan. I think that's awesome. And that's where, if any coach out there is, sometimes I'm not sure about this, and I'm not sure about doing that. Good.
Yeah.
That's what a good coach does, is you're constantly analyzing whether your decisions and whether your practices are as good as they could be. So it's, lack of confidence isn't always bad. It's just when and how much. Inside joke.
Take a PMBIA course and you'll understand it.
Well, on that note, the when and how much, to unpack that for a second, gets at this idea is within this context, how accurately are we assessing the situation? Because to your point about overconfidence, and all of the
as a coach, yeah.
As a coach, as we come into this, how accurately are we seeing the situation? And so there are a lot of things that cloud the situation, where we could be overconfident and think things are easier for our client than they may be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, like, can you all think of like an example, maybe Shanna, of when like you're coaching and you're questioning your not sure's, your what ifs, has actually led to the right decision or led to a good outcome, and you're almost glad that you weren't confident because you're almost glad that made you question something.
I think in general it helps me manage risks better than if I were overly confident. We asked that question again. Sorry.
No, it's good. I'm just like, if there's any examples where you feel like a lack of confidence was actually what you needed to teach better at that point. It helped you question things. It helped you.
But it forces me to plan a little bit more.
Okay.
Like,
cool.
Have a lesson plan up front that I can then be adaptable.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And yeah, just like, I give all my personal clients a survey.
Right.
What do you want? What are your goals? What are your overall goals? What scares you? What do you want to do with this lesson? And so I have some idea, and then when I meet them, so it enables me to, this guy wants to ride the rock drop on Bennett Gap. I got to do my homework because the rock drop on Bennett Gap gives me anxiety.
Yeah,
and I know what the consequences are, so it just forces me to, or not forces me, but it's an opportunity for me to really analyze come up with a good lesson plan. Hey, cool, I know you want to do this, but we got to start over here first and create this. Because in that situation, all situations, like, my number one job is like not to get him off the rock drop. It is to keep him safe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do everything that I can do to improve my instruction to prepare myself for that, so that I can keep them safe, and whether they go off the rock drop or not, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's your goal, but you're not ready. We might not even do that.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared for the lesson to go either way. So I think my lack of confidence puts me to where, like, it helps me with my lessons because it forces me to be more prepared.
Everything you just said, I love. I feel like if you were just speaking, you were like speaking in my head, because everything you said, it's like, I'm there with you. Like, everything you said, I just thought, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what I think. Because all that lack of confidence I have with my own writing, which is where I really struggle, it just makes me analyze everything so much more as a coach. So over the years, I've learned to, my confidence as a coach is pretty high, pretty strong, but only through thousands and thousands of hours only through practice. But now I've just thought about it. So why doesn't that apply to my writing?
With your thousands and thousands of hours.
With thousands of thousands of hours.
Because the consequences are different.
Exactly. Because I don't get hurt coaching. And if someone doesn't like it or thinks I'm a bad coach, maybe I don't care.
Doesn't hurt your feelings.
Because it doesn't hurt my skin or my muscles or my bones.
And you're not off your bike for
Yeah. So, the consequences of maybe, somebody not liking my coaching, I don't really care about. Getting hurt, I care about that a lot. So, this is a good session for me. this is figuring some shit out. So that's why I've got no confidence writing. It's the physical. I know that already, but it's interesting to suddenly just put a lens on, like, why am I confident coaching and why am I not confident writing, even though I'm spending the same amount of hours. But anyway, let's not talk about me. Let's get back to Shanna. And I think that's the takeaway for me there was just how you're talking about it makes you a better coach because you are questioning things ultimately at the end of the day. I think that's really powerful.
One of the things I struggle with coaches that I work with is if at the end of the day I was like, tell me what went well, what would you do better? And they're like, oh, they went pretty well.
Yeah. I think I was pretty awesome. Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm not asking if it was bad, but like, where's your self-analysis? And if I don't hear that, I'm just like, it just grates me a little bit. And I haven't really put words to that, but it does. I'm just like, don't we need to have some humility and questioning. So that'd be a place of healthy lack of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I've always really enjoyed with sort of my mentors or the people I work with that I really look up to is they're never done, they're never finished. They're never like, oh, I've reached this milestone, I'm done. They're always just constantly self-evaluating, and in a way they're kind of hard on themselves. Like my wife Shannon says that to me sometimes, but I'm just always thinking like, man, that could be better. That could have been better. Like there's not one lesson or course or training that like I walk away from and was like, sweet, that was dialed. I rock. Like, it might feel good, relatively speaking. It's like that went well, that was successful. But I guarantee you I can think of some things that could be better.
Let's dig into that for a second. So, being hard on yourself, self-confidence. Meredith, you alluded earlier to some self-talk. Like how do those two things like work themselves out? Like being hard on yourself and self-talk, maybe, or positivity. Like how have you seen that for yourself?
Well, the self pep talk, it does get me to reset in my line of thinking. So that's helpful. If it becomes like today, just kind of looking at the material again to refreshen, that's kind of that's a pep talk in a way for me to get some confidence and dial in what I'm to present. And then kind of what we were talking about earlier with the planning, just planning your lesson. So when you do have your lesson, you've got plan A, plan B, and maybe you have to use plan C. And that gives me the confidence so that I can actually like, all right, if there's an injury, I have a plan for it. If it's weather related, I have a plan for it. So there's this, I'm giving myself the confidence through that kind of pep talk.
It's almost like the planning is part of your self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Taking that a step further, like, do you ever, any of you all have hear the voice in your head of like a narrative, a self-talk narrative? Like for me, like thinking about being hard on yourself, like there's this voice, my inner critic that has a very specific voice that says very specific things, like how you just totally fuck that up.
Yeah, it's usually a mean voice.
Right, it's mean voice. Man, like how do you, like in this context of confidence, like how do you put that voice in its place?
I have to listen to it. I have to. It's something that's inside, and I have to give it some respect. But once it's said, usually it's like, okay, it's been said. I take it into account. All right, now I need to move on. Mm-hmm. But that voice is so weird.
So you acknowledge it first.
Yeah. And I hate, I just sometimes I get so upset with it. Like, it's like calling myself out.
Yeah.
Right, right.
It's interesting that you acknowledge it. You actually give it respect. Because I think a lot of people might just say, like, shut up, go away. And try
or not.
And try and ignore it.
Yeah.
But you're almost like saying, I'll listen to you. I'm hearing you. You've said your piece. Now shut up.
Yeah, because I still need to go. I still need to carry on with what I'm doing.
You ultimately still need to do what you need to do. And
if I listen to this voice, I'd be like, no, I'm just going to bow out. I don't want to do a demonstration in this, whatever group clinic thing that we're doing. I would put up walls.
Or even as a rider, just like...
Yeah, I'm not going to hit that.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm just going to ride around it.
Reminds me of today.
That sounds ominous.
I mean, today was the first time that I was given the opportunity to train the trainers of the trainers, and so, but I also was given an opportunity to bow out and go watch more, and as much as I think I'm a doer in this, when I lack confidence, I'll tend to move towards I want to watch more. And so today was one of those moments where my inner voice was, I'd already decided that if that opportunity was there, but it would have been easier and I would have learned more if I'd gone and watched what Paul was presenting to level 2 course conductors. Because I always feel like I need to improve that. But then to have the opportunity to step into a new role was intimidating. But at the same time, I was like, I just have to do it. I just have to try it.
That's your next challenge. That's your your next thing to.
And you didn't learn less. You just learned something different than if you had
100%.
gone and watched Paul.
Right. Yeah. And even what I learned
would help you anyway.
Would help me anyways.
Yeah.
So, but to your point, Meredith, about no relationship, whether it's with yourself or with other people, grows unless you converse with that person. Even at the hardest of times. So it's
you can't just tell them to shut up.
That doesn't improve things.
Yeah. That explains a lot. We're learning so much tonight.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. We're saving marriages everywhere. But joking aside, that's a cool way that you put it, There's a relationship with stress, anxiety, fear. And maybe, not shutting it out, not ignoring it, not slamming the door, maybe letting it come in, talking to it, accepting it is the path to a healthy relationship of problem solving rather than ignoring.
I think, too, what you said, and I think I kind of thought of this in the first podcast on this topic, is it fear or is it anxiety?
Yeah.
Fear keeps us safe.
Different, yeah.
Anxiety is something completely different. If I'm scared of something, I'm probably not ready. If I have anxiety, why am I anxious? It can maybe I'm ready. I think it's different.
I think that's a brilliant point because I muddle those, and I feel like sometimes I feel like fear and anxiety are the same. The anxiety is the outcome of the fear. But the way you just said it, it kind of makes me think, mate, you know, depending on the situation, maybe they are completely separate, you know. For me as a rider, I think what I get more of is I get the fear because I'm scared to get hurt. From that, I get the anxiety. But maybe you can have, you know, they can be together, but you can't have one without the other.
What is the anxiety from?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Naming that.
right. So,
yeah, like defining it. Is anxiety the same thing every time, or is it slightly different, depending on the situation or depending on what's causing the anxiety?
well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the psychologists would talk about naming, putting a name to it, or identifying what it is, because it's a stress response. It's our body's is a stress response to something, whether it's real or imagined, right? And so when it's real, you know, it's often like swings towards like the fear, you know, the fear stress response. When it's imagined, then it's our mind is doing something to thinking about things in a way that causes us to make judgments about outcomes that haven't happened. Right. And so when we
foresight,
right,
people get a lot of anxiety by sort of foreseeing things that haven't even happened yet.
Right. If I'm taking a level 2 air course, am I going to be able to clear all the jumps on this trail? And like projecting ahead, what will happen if I don't? What will happen if I don't? What will my value be as a person be? You know, like I've put all this money and training and time into this, and if I can't do this, I'm not pass. Then what does that mean about me? All of a sudden, my plans of we start like start making the story up about the outcomes. That's where anxiety like becomes uncontrolled, right? But as soon as we start naming it and putting it to it,
you give power to it.
We take power away from it.
Well, yeah, depending on what name.
Yeah.
It's funny because like my wife at home we might be moving house at the moment. She says she's talking to real estate agents and stuff, and so today she was like, "Oh, I'm really stressed," and I said, "But you don't have to be. It's actually really exciting, and you might be a little bit sort of nervous, but it's like a nervous excitement. You know, we just got to change the words that we put to that emotion almost."
Yeah, and when you change when you name things and start to identify the like, if the stress indicators are going up, it's an indication that you're in a challenge.
Yeah.
And if you can reframe that focus of you're in a challenge, you have Harlan, back to your initial definition, you have choice.
Yeah.
You have choice of what you're going to do.
I think I've got something there.
Okay, hang on a second.
Okay.
We can choose to engage the choice and perform, or we can choose to wallow in anxiety. What will happen? What will happen? What will happen if I don't know what the outcome is, or jump into it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Confront it, or
yeah.
There's a couple of things I want to try and tie together. Earlier, you said expectations can impact confidence or lack of confidence. You know, if the expectations are really high, but our skill levels may be low, there's a gap, right? I think a part of that is like your self-perception of your own skill set. And in you hear this term like self-worth. I think a lot of the time is sort of lack of confidence or anxiety or the stress response. A lot of the time it's that people aren't recognizing their true self-worth, their true skill set. And so they perceive a bigger gap from what's expected and what can they do. But if you look at a lot of confident people in business life, sports, athletics, whatever, there isn't really a gap. And it's not because of the skills necessarily. It's because their perception of their self-worth. You know, this is what I need to perform. But I'm at that level. So no big job, no big deal. I just got to go do it. Because I think for a lot of us, you know, our self-perception and self-worth is lower than what we're actually capable of. And I definitely do that all the time. Like I did that 4 days ago. So on Saturday, every year before trainers camp, I get anxiety because of what I do. And I know everybody's expectations are crazy high. And every year I have to meet those expectations. And every year I have to try and really, my job is to push it forward every year. So it's a lot of stress that I'm putting on myself. But it's this sort of idea that there's this constant expectation that I'll never achieve and I'll never live up to everybody's expectations because there's so many eyes on me. This is just me perceiving it. It's probably not true, but this is what I perceive. And every year I go through this anxiety and I ultimately have to get to a point where I'm like, you're meant to be here. You've done this before. You are worthy. So shut up. Like, what are you stressing about? And I think all of us are like that. Like, anytime we're not confident, it's not because we don't have the skills. It's not because there's a gap from us to the expectations. It's just our self-perception isn't strong enough. It's not high enough. We're not giving ourselves enough, what's the word? Enough respect or enough love to be like, we are better than we think. We are more capable than we think. And if you think, like, a lot of the times when you overcome confidence or lack of confidence, it's usually that happens. You have that kind of moment where you're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good. I totally could have done that. Can you guys kind of relate to that? Where you've kind of done something like, what was I stressing about? Man, I'm really good at this. Like, I shouldn't doubt myself.
But I had someone tell me that it's because we care.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we put all this pressure on ourselves to, especially as instructors, to perform at this high level because we care about what we're doing. We care about our clients. We care about giving them a great experience, and we care about keeping them safe and meeting their goals. And it's...
So basically, we need to stop caring.
So much.
Well, that's easy. Let's just fuck it. And our lives would be so much easier.
Well, we're not those kind of people, though, right? Like, we care. It's like we value what we're doing. It's our profession. We want it to be professional. We want to provide the best service that we can because we care about our clients and what we're doing.
It's literally what we live for.
Yeah.
Harlan, you have something?
I could just drive a shuttle bus and be happy too.
But would you be fulfilled if you just drove a shuttle bus?
I should try it. I don't know.
It sounds like you have the means.
Do.
You're dabbling.
Yeah.
You could do it part-time coaching, part-time shuttle bus.
So yeah, I did add guiding and shuttling to my business this past year.
There you go. Good.
Yeah.
Quick plug. I like it.
And actually, I get a lot of joy out of it because it's just a different way for me to interact. If I generally don't drive shuttle, but I want to set up a program that brings people joy by bringing them to a place that has maybe some unsafe. It feels a little unsafe. It's backcountry. There's a lot of unknowns, and so I have driven shuttle a few times, and I really enjoy it. It breaks up my interaction with clientele. Some of them are coaching clients, and now and I suggest, why don't you come do the shuttle? And then I get all nervous, like, oh, I hope they like these trails, and maybe hope I don't kill them. But tangent. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good tangent.
We've got something here to try on.
Sweet.
the last confidence episode, we approached it as confidence is a skill, right? So I'm going to ask that question, is confidence a skill? And we've had a really wonderful conversation here. And I had this idea listening to everyone when talk about this and like thinking about skills and what we've been doing here, this PBI trainer camp. What do you think about this idea of self-confidence having a point of commitment?
I think it definitely does.
And the point of commitment being kind of what Paul talked about, like in that at some point prior to the thing, there's this moment of like anxiety, stress, which is, again, like I was saying a few minutes ago, is a sign of like, you can take that as a sign of like you're coming into a challenge.
Yeah.
And like we talk about point of commitment for drops and jumps.
Yeah.
As what?
The point of commitment.
Why do we use a point of commitment?
That gives us a chance to pull off.
Yeah.
Don't decide to do it.
Well, but it does that. But what else does it do if we decide to do it?
You better lock
You
it
gotta
in.
go. Once you pass.
Yeah.
Once you pass it,
Yeah.
what do you do?
You're committed.
You're going for
You're
it.
You're like,
Well,
you're not
but specifically,
committed.
but specifically, what do you do? No
Simply,
more.
You set yourself
more
up for the
braking.
best success.
No more braking. No more.
no more pedaling.
No more pedaling. You set your position.
It's almost like we teach biking.
Or eat donuts too much. I don't know.
We should cut this bit out. We are a lot of food and a couple of beers.
But my point is that there's a structure for what we do if we choose to engage.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Right.
Love it. I'm picking up what you put down.
You got it now? So
I got it.
If there's a structure, if we choose to engage with the challenge,
Right.
whether it's a small drop, big drop, whatever it is, we set your position, no more pedaling, no more braking, and you've got everything unlocked. You're not, where I'm going with this, you're not thinking about it anymore. Like you're ready to perform.
You're doing.
Yeah.
You're doing. And so if we think about self-confidence, going into situations, like we have acquired the skills to do what we need to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have acquired the adaptability to maneuver those skills however we want to do it. We've prepared in all of our ways. We don't need to think anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a green light. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Just do it.
Just do it. Like we trust your skills, trust your instinct, trust your preparation, trust your adaptability in all of this, and step into it. What do y'all think about that?
Like you did today with training the trainers.
Let's clear
You're
up.
like,
Let's
you
clear
made
that
the
up.
decision
The
that you were
training,
going to do
the
it.
trainers.
Training the trainers.
Full stop. Okay, we got it.
Because you're training the instructor. Like you did that when you were offered this opportunity, and then you decided that like, yes, I want to move in this direction. I will do this thing. Then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it, and then you just did it.
Yeah, but I struggle with, the point of commitment, the POC, isn't...
The POC?
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
But it's just a process. It's a process on the way to... It's a process, it's a step in the process. Right?
Yeah.
But along that, the next step could be to decide not to do it.
It's like the drop zone.
Of course,
Right.
yeah.
You can hit the little
And
drop.
so, and when Paul was talking about like pushing through, part of me is like, I want to be careful with my clients to be like, that they don't think that they have to push through a proper voice that's giving them good information. Like maybe not. Right. And so that's where the process that is important, where like, hey, I had a client who 3 months ago, we did a great drop-in clinic. She came away really confident. I see her again like 3 months later, and her and a friend are talking about a series of drops, and my client's like, I just ride around. I don't even go over near it. Mm. And my client's like, they're friends. It's like, you haven't even looked at it? And to me, I'm almost like, oh man, I failed as a coach because I didn't remind her that like the first step is just investigating. So like when we feel fear, I would maybe replace the word push through, which is don't be afraid to investigate.
I like that.
And don't be afraid to like see if there's another step. And part of like my job as a coach is to help them see the next step that brings them closer to their goal. And
I think what I like with this idea of point of commitment, to sort of tie what you're saying, we need to go to bed soon. Can't talk.
Yeah.
Is it's really a checkpoint.
Right.
You know, I'm feeling stress, anxiety, fear, whatever the markers might be. I have doubt. And the pushing through is almost like it's like a gate, you know? Can I open the gate pretty easily? And if I can open the gate, right, I'm in, I'm committed. You know, the self-talk worked really easily. The reminding myself I'm worthy and I've got the skills, that worked. I feel calmer now. Like I start to sort of break down that stress and that anxiety or that fear. Okay, I can push this gate open. Now I'm committed. On the other hand, if we talked a little bit about this on the last episode, you know, if I've got that self-talk, yeah, come on, you can do this. You've been here. But I'm still feeling really anxious. I've got the skills. I've done the training. I've got the tactics. Oh, but I still have a lot of doubt. It might go wrong. So all the things I'm trying to do to address this confidence, this anxiety, it doesn't allow me to open that gate, that point of commitment. And so that's what that point of commitment is really from a confidence point of view, is it's sort of a mental gate. Can I swing the gate open? And if I can, let's commit, let's do it, let's stop thinking. Whatever I try, I can't swing this gate open. And you know what? I just can't. Whatever I do, I can't make it happen. I'm going to back down. So that's for me is sort of how I see what you were saying, Kristian, which is like the point of commitment is almost a step in the process, as you mentioned, Kristian, and it's a way for someone to quantify, can they push through or not?
Right.
I don't know. That's just sort of how I framed it in my head, taken from what you were kind of saying, and then what Kristian was saying.
Well, the point of commitment is, let's get done with these other distracting things, pedaling, braking, and give ourselves an opportunity to see the next step, which is going for it. Like my mind is clear, I'm going straight, nothing else is happening, all I have is a transition and a lip. Yeah. And so it's a very clear step to me of like clearing the mind and being ready for the next step, which is actually engaging.
Yeah.
Engaging and trusting.
And trusting, yeah.
Trusting what you've...
It's almost like on other sides of the gate, you can have different words. Like if you go past that gate, it's like clarity, commit, trust.
Yeah.
You know, and before that gate, it's like positive self-talk, stress, anxiety. Are you worthy? It's sort of that problem solving. But if you can solve the problem, you can go through the gate. Trust, commit, maybe switch off, maybe you've got this.
Yeah, so I can, we use this tool of point of commitment as a coaching device, for drops, jumps. But
for writing skills.
Writing skills.
Yeah.
But I think that within this context that we're talking about, it's almost a way of like doing it for the coaching side as well. We're working with our trainers or whatever, or ourselves, thinking about that. I love this idea of a gate, where it's a threshold.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that. That's a better word.
Right. You can't stay in the threshold. You're on one side or the other.
Yeah.
Right. And
go home or go forward.
Yeah. In some ways that, to put another word on, it's a rite of passage. Like you're moving from
We've got gate, threshold, rite of passage. Let's go for a few more.
But yeah, you're entering into that new space.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
Awesome team.
Hey, let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
I think probably
Yes.
we should talk donuts, but is there any, before we get into donuts, is there any last words here? Final words.
This was a great conversation.
We really appreciate y'all. This is a first for us, Paul.
It is.
It really is in a lot of ways, and we're all
Airbnb conversation.
Wow, you went through the gate.
Yeah.
we did.
Actually, the threshold.
We did. We're in the same time zone
Yeah.
for once.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Sharing this with some
Best
wonderful
times,
people.
Yeah, thank you
Grateful to
so
be here.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you all.
Yeah. It's been a great week, and
Appreciate all of you encouraging my journey through all this.
it's been a joy. We learn. I learned way more than probably let on. So from this experience, so
We're all learning always.
yeah.
No.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
That was
you.
fun.
Thank you.
Good times.
Yeah,
Donuts.
donuts. Anybody got a donut example / story?
I got this donut story, and Kristian, you can't see, dear listeners.
He's totally into this now. Dear listeners, I have a story.
is wearing a T-shirt I bought from Harmony Donuts, which was on Lawndale Drive. What's the main
Longdale
Longsdale in North Vancouver.
I should know that.
I probably had that shirt for like 8-9 years, and I put it in my drawer.
You gave him a 9-year-old T-shirt.
It's never been worn.
It smells pretty clean.
It's never been worn.
It's Harmony.
Harmony Donuts, and it's a donut shop that was.
So the reuse it center didn't take the bag closed. And you gave it to Kristian.
They're the best though.
Anyway, donuts.
Yeah. Anyway, so like this eccentric donut shop. It felt like it was like in a house, that was like a one room, and there was a lot of sprinkles and some coffee and
This sounds a little bit like a negative experience.
yeah.
And then this clown came out. And
Yeah, I love the shirt, but like, and I put it in my drawer, and I was like, I just ended up never wearing it.
Tell me about the donut. Surely you ate a donut.
I ate donuts. I definitely ate donuts.
Did you eat 3 donuts?
I can't remember. It was honestly like 8 years ago that I ate these donuts.
So this whole story, and we don't even get a donut out.
2 donuts on the shirt.
But it is a
with
donut
sprinkles.
shirt. There's
And coffee. Yeah.
what's like one of those famous Canadian donuts? It's like maple or something.
Canadian maple. Oh my God.
Tim Hortons.
Oh boy.
Well, Tim Hortons does those.
Canadian
But this
listeners.
is not a
We
Tim
got to
Hortons.
edit him out of the whole podcast
It's America, Paul. You're in America now.
now. I'm an American now.
Anyways, listeners.
Canadian maple with bacon
Canadian
on
maple with bacon. Yes. Yeah.
it. And custard inside.
It was amazing.
Delicious.
That is the donut of the day. Because before I left, we were at lunch, and this is a good segue.
Okay.
I like your flavors.
Gift.
And anyway, I went to, where did I go? Portobello's in Worcester for coffee and a donut. And Canadian maple donuts usually round with custard in the middle. There's quite a lot of custard, and sometimes it's a bit too much. But this one was like a Canadian maple, but it was in a Long John shape.
The Long John, yeah.
And it was just the perfect ratio of like donut dough, Canadian maple ice cream, bacon, and custard inside. It was the best Canadian maple I've ever had. And I took a picture of it, so.
I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I mean, I've been saving this for a while, but since you brought up Portobello's, I mean, hands down, top 3 donuts I've ever had, Portobello's.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one was
This-
a whopper. It
yeah.
was whopper, by the way, is
Not-
a
not-
technical term for anything that's awesome. And my wife disagrees with me, and I disagree with her. So it was a whopper donut.
All right. Whoppers.
Whoppers.
Yeah.
But not
No.
an American Whopper.
No.
Oh,
No bird.
so good. Eat donuts, people.
Because
Yeah.
they make you happy.
They make you happy, and you know what goes
They're healthy.
good. What goes good with donuts?
Beer.
More donuts.
More donuts.
You gotta say that story, because that was hilarious.
That was a good story.
Hind-
Okay, you
Hind-
can tell the story.
We were at Hindo this morning.
Which, by the way, do donut French toast. We should just do a whole podcast on
And
We
donuts.
should do a podcast in Hindo.
Yeah, we should.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
should
They're so
know
nice.
that Hindo is actually 2 words.
Hindo.
Yeah, they do chicken.
Hendersonville.
donuts.
Hindo is like the abbreviation, but Hindo.
Anyway,
And they do
donuts.
chicken.
Chicken.
Fried chicken. Ham.
I had the most amazing grit bowl this morning I think I've ever had.
Mm.
But anyway, on the way out, after eating my grit bowl, it has had a Gouda cheese sauce in it.
Gouda.
It was amazing. This little kid comes in, and he's like, "Mom, I want some donuts." She's like, "Wow, son, you've got to have eggs or bacon with it." He's like, "I don't want that." She's like, "Well, what are you going to have with your donut?" He's like, "More donuts."
that kid
Yeah.
is switched on.
Yeah.
Switched on.
He just pushed through the doubt.
He's through the
I don't
threshold.
need any of that.
Point of commitment, wide open. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, y'all. It was awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fun.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show and that it sparked some ideas for your writing and your coaching. As always, our approach to coaching is on pros and cons, not rights and wrongs. And with that in mind, our podcast is meant to be more of a conversation about topics and techniques rather than a final say in how to ride or how to teach. As always, please take care if using or applying any of the techniques discussed in this podcast. Stay safe, ride smart, and we'll see you next time.